guys, it's Cheyenne, and I wanted to make a video about mental illness. I live with high-functioning depression, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, and anxiety. Like I said, I am very high-functioning, but they do play a tremendous role in my life. They affect my relationships, and my quality of life. And I have made videos on things that you can do to help with depression, and I made a video on the truth of loneliness. And those videos hold a lot of tools. They are useful tools that have helped me tremendously in my journey, and I hope they'll help you. But just like cancer is a disease, so is depression. And if cancer goes into remission, do we blame the patient? No. Just like my depression is going into remission, please don't blame me. I have done a lot of tools, used a lot of tools that have helped me a lot along my journey. And then I increased my tools and added more tools to my toolbox. And I'm still falling into a pit. Don't report me. I have no active plans to harm myself. I'm just going to state my truth. Even if only 1 or 2 people watch this video, I'm stating my truth. This video is to help break the stigma of mental illness and to help teach others how to better support those in their lives with mental illness. We are people. Treat us like people. Don't treat us like problems. Don't talk down to us and don't talk at us. And those times that you don't know what to say, just be present. Try to engage with those in your life who are suffering from mental illness and just try to be there. Words like things will get better or you'll get through this aren't really helpful in my opinion. Perhaps offer to take them out for a cup of coffee, and even if you don't know what to say, just be there around them. Offer to sit next to them and read a book for a while. Offer to sit there and listen to them ramble on for hours if they need to. Ask them if they want a hug. And if they want a hug, don't let go until they're ready. Imagine having a disease which affects your mind. It affects the way you view the world and how you interact with others. And you can't let on that you're suffering from this disease too much, or people treat you like you're a problem or that you're less than human because you have a different view of an experience of viewing life. One of the worst things you can do for someone in your life who has mental illness is to shut them out and push them away because they are a problem or they are hard to handle. We are broken people and need extra support. That is why humans are on this earth, is to love and uplift and support each other. And, there is that point of having like healthy boundaries with those. But there comes a point when if you really truly care about that person and you know that they're going through a hard time, you can have boundaries, but you still need to be present in their life if you want to help them. Casting people off or throwing them to the side is not helpful or beneficial whatsoever. Like I said, really just treat them like a person, because realize that we are people. We're able to function. I can do well at my job. I do great at my job. If you see me in the store or you see me walking down the street, and I can carry on a conversation with you. In fact, I can talk about a number of topics. I'm very well-rounded. I probably wouldn't let on that I have mental illness, but I do. And I am depressed. And here's another sad thing, is that society doesn't know how to treat or handle those with mental illness. And that's why I wanted to make this video. It's on one side of the coin, oftentimes people will be like, oh, well, this person is crazy, so we're just gonna treat them like they're not really important and not really talk to them. Or they're having a hard time, so we're just gonna give them superficial sayings of like, hi, it'll get better, you'll get through this. Um, it's awful because they can tell that they're being talked down to, and it makes them feel like they're unvalidated. And it makes them feel like, oh my gosh, I have this condition and I can't talk to other people about it. And then there's the other side of the coin where if a person does express that they are actively wanting to harm themselves, they get police to do like a welfare check on them. And in my experience, those welfare checks are very, very unhelpful because society doesn't have the tools to treat those with mental illness. In my experience, what happened years ago was some police officer came to my home, asked me a few questions, escorted me to the back of a police car, took me to a hospital where they stripped me of my clothes, gave me a hospital gown, gave me no shoes. They took away my shoes and they put me in a small room for about 12 hours against my will. Finally, a social work lady came in and said, oh, so this is what happened, so looks like we need to adjust your meds. And they didn't help me. They stripped me of my human rights. In my experience, and it's because society doesn't know how to treat those with mental illness. So if somebody has mental illness and they need love and validation, and they express that they are wanting to actively harm themselves, do you think it is helpful to have them escorted in a police car and taken to a 5150 where they are pretty much a prisoner? No. And then the other side of the coin, which most people don't mention, is the copay. A 12-hour hospital stay against my will with insurance left me with a $3,000 bill. Yeah, people don't really talk about that, is that there are huge hospital costs. And this is for those who are reaching out. So oftentimes people who struggle with mental illness are stuck between a rock and a hard place where it's like, if we reach out for help, people think we're being dramatic, or they think that we are just odd or crazy or a problem. So they're just, at most, if we're lucky, they'll give us a superficial pat on the shoulder. Or there's that other side of the coin where it's like, yeah, we're just gonna, we think you're gonna harm yourself, we're just gonna throw you in the hospital for a few hours. And that is not how we're supposed to treat those with mental illness, in my opinion. We, in my opinion, I'm getting emotional, need to just be there and be present for them. And like, by all means, if somebody is like actively wanting to hurt themselves with a gun or a knife, I'm a mandated reporter, do what you need to do to keep that person safe. But when they're just expressing that they're going through a hard time and they're thinking that life is better off on the other side, don't treat them like they are less than and then throw them in a cage for 12 hours or how many hours, because that's going to only add salt to the wound and make the problem worse. Because I have been on both sides of the spectrum, I have comforted people, I think, in a more beneficial way. And sadly, I didn't really get the return on that when I was going through a hard time. A friend called me up and said she was feeling suicidal years ago. Do you know how many hours I spent on the phone with her? I would have driven down if I could have seen her, but I couldn't. I spent 5 hours talking her out of it, making jokes with her, telling her, hey, we're going to have plans. That's another huge tip. Give them plans. Give them something to look forward to. Hey, let's make a bracelet together. Like, I'll listen to you and I'll comfort you as much as I can. And let's have some plans, make a future date with them. Let them know that they're important in your life and that you add value to their life. Or they add value to, let them know that they add value to your life, that you value them as a person. That's really important. But like another friend told me she was feeling suicidal, and I held her hand with her permission and just held her. And I told her that life is rough And there are hard times, but there would be good times. And I told her if she ended her life, she would be missing out on many wonderful opportunities, such as perhaps meeting her future children, or, meeting her future soulmate, and all of the wonderful adventures she could have. Like, I tried, and I've tried to be there for people. And I will tell you, my depression is terrible. Again, I am not making any active plans to harm myself. No need to turn me in. Also, I am a mandated reporter, and I am not trying to go against any mandated reporter laws. That is not my intention. I am simply saying, you must obey those laws, but realize there are other tools that you can use in addition to those laws. Because if you just turn somebody in, you're not going to help them. You need to talk with them and be with them unless they are an immediate threat. And then you are obligated as a mandated reporter to turn them in if they are right about to harm themselves. But really, it's about treating people like they're human. Be kind, be loving to them. My depression is so much worse because I don't have family. And that is not really necessarily affected by that was not contributed to by my mental illness. It was more of they turned a blind eye to my childhood abuse and pretty much threw me away when I was an adult. I don't have many friends, and that is because I have a hard time letting people in. And the few people I let in really hurt me. So I don't really have anyone that I can open up to. And this week alone, I lost my best friend and the person I was dating. And it was really hard. And I don't have a support system. And that's making my journey so much harder. Yes, people have tried to reach out and be like, oh, you're okay. Let me just send you some Bible links. It's like, thank you. I appreciate the effort, and I appreciate one person let me talk on the phone with them for 45 minutes, and it's great. But another person was like, oh, you're strong, you'll get through this. But I don't even know these people. These are people that I met online. No one in my immediate circle in real life has reached out to me. And it's hard. It makes my journey so much harder. And that's another thing with depression and mental illness. When it leads to suicide, people are like, oh my gosh, if I had only known, or did they call out for help, or what did I do wrong? Well, ask yourself, did you spend time with them? Did you treat them like a person? Because a lot of times people with mental illness, they try to reach out and they're treated like they are not human. And when that happens, they're talked down to or given superficial comments, you're unvalidating them. And you're not making them feel loved or cherished or valued, and you're aiding the problem. And then when people with depression end their lives, we ask ourselves, what could we have done more? At the end of the day, people are going to do what they're going to do. But just take note that, just try to be more present. Don't blame yourself if somebody close to you ends their life, but take note more so on the people who are in your life who are trying to reach out, and try to just be there for them and love on them. And if you have lost anybody to suicide, I apologize, and I am so sorry. That is a pain that no one should have to go through. And if you know people who are struggling with mental illness, then I really hope these tools and these tips I've given you help you. And if you know people with mental illness, I hope that I've given you some insight on breaking the stigma that we are just people, we are just sick, and we struggle, and it's really hard. It's really hard. Because our minds are how we really connect with the world, and how we view the world and experience the world. And if that is sick and that has a skewed look on reality, it makes life so much harder. And then when you pull away or don't treat people as humans, you're making their lives so much worse, and it's adding to the problem. Love on them. Love on those in your life who have mental illness. Be there. Be present. I know I'm a broken record. And in regards to mandate reporting, yes, like I said before, report, follow the laws, but realize you can do more in addition to reporting. I don't know if I clarified that earlier. And I do agree. With 5150s, they're in accordance to the law, but right now I believe they are not at all as adequate as they should be. At least in my experience, I feel like we need to do more with 5150s, and I don't really know exactly what that would look like, but I feel like we really need to do more, because just putting someone against their will in a room for 12 hours and then sending them off with a $3,000 hospital bill doesn't do a lot. And in 50 or 100 years, we're going to look back and we're going to be so embarrassed. Even 20 years or even 15 years, we're going to look back and be so embarrassed of how we treated those with mental illness, the people we cast off and judged rather than trying to understand. I love you all. I make this video to be raw and authentic and open, and hopefully I help somebody. Even if I only helped one person in this video, then it was worth it. I love you all. I hope I gave you some insight and tips. It's not a fun subject, but it's something that needs to be talked about, especially when depression is getting worse with this lockdown. And I'll make another video on that. Goodbye.